Hello Flosstube, it's Lori of MischievousStitches. I want to welcome everyone to my channel today. I'm very glad that you're here with me. As always, if you're here for the cross stitch, you're in the right place. I have several things to share with you today. I have an old sewing tray I picked up at a local jump shop that I want to share with you, as well as a couple of new starts, a finish, some work on a focus piece, and a gifty. So let's just jump right in. So a couple of weekends ago, Clint and I headed off to the coast of South Carolina, and on the way down, I often like to stop at some of the junky antique places, you know, these places that are full of old treasures and it has that dusty smell, and if you look hard enough, you're gonna find a treasure. And I always dig deep, and now my husband knows exactly what I'm looking for. He never fails to look for the same kind of things that I'm interested in and point them out to me. And oftentimes, I think for him it's the thrill of the hunt, and he'll find things before I do. But I want to share with you one of the things I found. I did share a picture of it on Instagram. I want to clean it with some wood soap, and I want to wax it down. But it is this tray, and it's actually a silverware tray, but I'm going to use it for my cross stitch, and it does have a ding right here in the corner. But that little imperfection, what makes it so much of a treasure, because it's old, the wood's a little dry, as you can hear. But once I get it washed down really good, I have a desire to put my 4th of July display. I may not get everything done for this year, but for next year I will, and I will have it on display in my stitch room all year long. So there's that, and it has a handle there, and you can see, you know, of years of use, you can see the discoloration and the stains, and who knows what it was used for other than silverware years ago. But I'm happy to have it, and I thought I would share it all with you. Share it with you for those of you that may run across something like this similar, or maybe hadn't thought to use it for display for smalls. Just an idea. I did pick up a couple of unfinished wooden things at a local store this week. They had them for like $1, and I want to do some decoupage and some painting on those stars once again for this as a patriotic display, and I may share those with you as well. And for those of you that watched my tutorial for the patriotic star last weekend, thank you so much. Thank you for the positive feedback. My craft day with my girlfriends will be coming up this coming weekend, and I'm looking forward to doing that. Same craft with them and playing a few cards and sharing lots of laughs. So thanks for those kind comments last weekend. So this week, I shared with everyone last weekend, I had been, at the beginning of the week, had been diagnosed with vertigo. I actually visit with my doctor this coming week, which is not my doctor, he will be my doctor, but he is the doctor that has cared for my mother, who has had some issues with vertigo as well in the past. And so I'm hoping that comparing the notes from her file, things that she's been through, maybe he can compare the things that I've went through. But I am at this time fully recovered other than light sensitivity, but that's not uncommon for me anyway. In the summer I have to wear sunglasses. I do have green eyes, and my eyes are very sensitive to light anyway, so having light sensitivity is not, like I said, not unusual for me, but having that dizziness, that motion sickness constantly, most of the symptoms were gone other than the dizziness by Monday. I was still my balance was still off. I did go back to work, and I was able, you know, to do my work in my office with the lights out. I do have one small window and blinds. So I was able to let the light in I needed, but not be saturated with the brightness. So went back to work. Other than that, the dizziness stuck with me till Thursday. So that's like over a week and a half that the dizziness was with me. But like I said, none of the other symptoms I was having were there. So it was manageable, is what I consider it, manageable. So when I woke up yesterday morning, it's Saturday, and I was feeling so good. I was able to get in the yard. I did do a little bit of yard work, but I didn't push myself. I did a lot less than I would normally do. I made sure to stay hydrated. I look forward to visiting with the doctor and asking a lot more questions and making myself a lot more informed. I'm very hesitant to look things up online because there's so much misinformation. I'm going to let the doctor direct me to some sources and inform myself that way. But just know that I'm on the mend. And actually, I think it was on Wednesday. Was it Thursday? I think it was Thursday, the day that the dizziness went away. I picked up my needle, and between Thursday and Friday, I made a finish on my Redwork sampler. So I do want to share with everyone, I was able to change the word Redwork to Rustwork. And if you don't know the story, when I purchased this piece was at a local stitch shop back in April with a friend of mine that I met here through Flosstube, and she was in the area visiting, and she contacted me, and we met up, and we did several things together, but one was to visit the stitching frame in Rock Hill. And I bought lots of things that day because I had not been to a stitch shop in months and months due to COVID. And one of the things I picked up was the Redwork sampler. I had seen it online. No, I had purchased it prior, but I took it with me to Stitching Frame to get the supplies. So let me share that one with you. Hold on just a second. For those that may not have already seen it. And what did I do with, oh my goodness, I don't know what I did with my pattern. I apologize. I should have had it together. I thought it was right here, but it's only things that I already had. But anyway, so it is by Mojo Stitches out of Australia, and I gave it a start in somewhere around the 2nd or 3rd week of April. And the friend Christine and I that were visiting the Stitching Frame, I was looking for a red color that was for me, and 918 is one of my favorite reds in DMC, and it's a rusty red, an orangey red, more rust color, a dark orange. And I picked up a couple of Classic Colorworks colors, and it just so happens that the color I picked was almost spot on to 918 DMC, and that was Classic Colorworks color Campfire. It did have some orange colors throughout, but mostly it was that dark orangey red that I love so much. So I chose to stitch the sampler with that one. And originally I bought, to make sure that I had enough, I bought 3 skeins of Campfire and a couple of skeins of 918 DMC. And I was going to use, I ended up using 1 strand over 2 instead of 2 over 2. So I didn't need quite as much thread, but you're going to use your DMC over time. And I was going to use maybe, kind of, at some point I would use a strand of 918, and another point I would use a strand of the Campfire, trying to avoid using the brighter oranges within that variegated thread. And it ended up, I just continued on with Campfire. I did not use the 918, but only maybe in the first couple of letters. And know that I had enough using, on 36 count, using 1 strand over 2 linen threads of Campfire. I went through 2 skeins. So know that I had 3, I still have 1 left over and a small bit of the second one. And I'm not miserly when I'm stitching, meaning I don't stitch till the tail's just this long. I do have some substantial tails sometimes when I snip those pieces off, and as well as that, I'm comparing all those colors when I was choosing. I got off topic a little bit. When I was comparing those orangey reds that I love so much, I brought them to the attention of Christine and was asking her opinion of them, what she thought, which one was her favorite, and I told her my love of the orangey reds, and she said, well, you should call it Rustwork instead of Redwork. And then, mentioning that here on Flosstube, someone out there, Diane, here in Flosstube land, offered to chart Rustwork to replace the Redwork. So I want to share with you my finish of Redwork sampler, my Mojo Stitches, as the Rustwork sampler stitched by me. and here it is. So this, once again, is stitched in 1 strand over 2 linen threads on 36 count, and this is Mellow. And at the bottom, it says Rustwork. So Christine, this is for you. This is inspired by you. And so every time I see this, I'm going to have this framed. I'm probably going to drop it off this week. And I also, this was my 1 strand, one red thread before bed. So for a while, I've gotten a lot of questions about 1 strand of red before bed. There's no rules, everyone. Stitching is a hobby. Do what you love, but there are times when I want to finish things and I get in kind of a slump and I lose my love for something momentarily. And with this one, I wanted to finish it up. I have so many other things, whips I want to work on, things I want to start. And I kind of, I guess for lack of a better way to phrase it, I just wanted to rush through this one a little bit, and I did not have a love for it there for a minute. And so I prompted myself, if I just prompt myself and commit to myself to stitch 1 strand every evening, most times that 1 strand may lead to 2 or may lead to 3 strands of thread stitched in that night, but it may just be that one. And most of the times I would stitch one strand, and then I would load the needle up, thread it for the next night, and park that thread into it so I'm ready to go the next night. But it helped me to finish this piece. I'm so happy to those of you that's jumped in, for those that are using the hashtag, thank you for that. But there's been many questions, and there's no real rules. The reason I did that, the reason I created that, was just a way to prompt myself to work on this piece, prompt myself to work towards a finish. So if you want to pick up your needle and stitch 10 threads in that night, you've at least put in that 1. You've reached that goal, that prompt. Use that hashtag how you will. If you enjoy stitching a red sampler and you stitch in the evenings, or even if you get up in the morning on a Saturday morning and stitch at your patio table and you want to use that, that's totally up to you. But it was just a way to prompt myself to stitch on it, because I do have several red samplers that I want to stitch, and this was one of them. And I'm happy to have it, and I hope to have it framed and back to share with you in a couple of weeks. But here it is. Here is the Rustwork sampler. Thanks for sharing this with me. So there's that. I did pick up one of my focus pieces. It is Blue Ribbon Designs Alphabet Zoo. I'm stitching this in 3362. I started a Blue Ribbon Design piece. This was a stitch along back in April again. I started this with my friend Mary, and several other people joined in, and it was BRB Tax Day Sal. We started them on April 15th, which is Tax Day here in the U.S. And when I shared it with you last week, I had not worked on it in a little bit, and I had started work on letter C. So I worked a little bit more. So I have the top of this chicken, or this rooster, it's a chicken, it's letter C, stitched up, and I have the beginnings of a rooster tail here. I need to change that. It's a chicken tail because it's letter C. So there's a chicken here partially, just the feather, and then a chicken right below it. The cow is finished, and then you can see the start of the next cow below that one. So I'm really close to finishing this square, but know that I only put a couple of stitches in there, but that brought me joy and peace and comfort this week, because it had been a couple of weeks since I was able to stitch, so it felt good to pick up that needle. And I look forward to finishing this year. I did start it last year around March, April-ish, and I'm hoping to get it finished this year. That's my plan. So this weekend, I've got a couple of stitch-alongs planned. And one of them is going to be with Yany. We're going to start something together next month. Yany's a Flosstuber here. I'll link her below. Wonderful stitcher. We have some of the same taste in stitching, so I love to see what she's working on. And she too has been working on whips this year, and she's finished a lot of beautiful pieces that she's got on the go, and she's currently working on a chatelaine design. I think it was the Peacock Garden. I have that one as well, but she is close to a finish, so if you're interested in seeing that and seeing Yany, like I said, I will link her below. But I picked up another red sampler. I had two that I planned on stitching or picking up after Rustwork, are two possibilities. And I'll share with you what the one I chose was. And this is by Shakespeare's Peddler. It is Anne Womack, 1838. And I actually started her Friday night after finishing up Rustwork. I picked up and put in a one thread in Womack, and then I put a few threads into her last night. Let me share her with you so far. And I'm stitching her in 3777 DMC, another of my favorite DMCs. It's a dark rustic color as well. Can you see? That's pretty true there. And I'm stitching it on 40 count country mocha, and here's my start. Now it is a perfectly square sampler, which is different for me. Where this one is pretty square as well. I've stitched a couple of other red samplers, but they've all been rectangular, and so this is a pleasant change. It's something new. But here I am with this, and I will continue to do my one red thread before bed on this one. I've got the needle loaded up for working on it this evening, but here she is again. And this is the original here. This is the antique sampler. And let me read the verse on it. It says, "Time is always moving on. Time, we soon may say, is gone. Time is fleeting, and we know time at last will disappear." So there's that. And it was stitched by, of course, Anne Womack, 1838, by Shakespeare's Peddler. And then I made a start yesterday. It's July 4th is quickly approaching us. It's a couple of weekends away. Here in the U.S., that's Independence Day. And it is a holiday here we look forward to. It's like one of the Memorial Day is like the unofficial first weekend of summer. But 4th of July is all about family and friends and fireworks and backyard barbecues and just fun. So this is my start on. I'm housing it in my patriotic bag that I stitched a few weeks ago. And this is Bent Creek, Stars and Stripes Forever. Now my friend Kitty was stitching this when I got together with her and Natasha at the beginning of the month. Was it May? Yeah, it was May. We got together for a weekend, and Kitty had it as a start. She brought it with her. And I made a start on mine yesterday and have been working on it today. And when I turn this video off while it's uploading, I'm gonna work on it some more, but here we go. So it's about just shy of 3 inches tall. I'm stitching this on lamb's wool linen, 32 count as called for. The suggested threads are DMC, but it suggests 2 over 1. I'm sorry, 2 DMC threads over 1 linen. Let me get this right. 2 DMC threads over 2 linen threads, but I'm stitching 1 DMC thread over 2. So mine is a little more muted than it would be if you stitched the 2. And I hoped to get this finished soon. It should be about a little over 17 inches wide. And like I said, it'll be a little less than 3 inches tall. And I've already got my mind how I want to finish this. It's patriotic stitching season, and I'm eagerly awaiting the new Erica Michaels design that is done in blue with the flag on it as well in red, white, and blue. And it is on the way to me. It's being kitted up, but I do not have it in my little hands yet to get it started, and I was ready to stitch something. So I picked out something I thought that I could get finished within the next couple of weeks. So when my Erica Michaels piece comes in, if it's on time, it should be here and around the middle of the week, but hopefully I'll have it in time to make a start on it around Independence Day as well. But I'll have this one finished. But once again, this is Stars and Stripes Forever by Bent Creek Designs. And so those are my two pieces. So I've worked on a total of 3 different ones this week. I'm very happy with my progress. I'm happy to have a piece finished, and this was a start for this year, so I can't count it as a whip down. I also plan, I'm thinking maybe I'm gonna have some leftover at the end. And if all of you remember, I did like a 6-month review video last week, and I shared with you this finish on a previous year's finished piece, and this was a Hobnob piece called Garden Treats, and I did it as a flange pillow using Vonna the Twisted Stitchers tutorial, and it has all these beautiful buttons, and I could not remember the name of the designer. So when I did the video originally, when I finished this one, I started searching and forgot I even had this. So I have a cute little Uncle Sam, and so that piece, this one, come just like this. So it's very limited stitching. You're basically just stitching the squares, 4x4 squares in the side, and these I think are done as Smyrna crosses. And I've got the same thing with Uncle Sam. If you can see there in the side, it says actually Happy 4th. So all I have to do is stitch a blue star, and I'm stitching around the edges. So I'm hoping to get this one knocked out as well with some leftover fabric from Stars and Stripes Forever. So there's that. And this should only take maybe a day, maybe an evening after work. Very limited stitching. So I've not bought anything. Nothing came in this week. I have bought things, but not cross-stitch things. But I did get something in the mail this week from Miss Judy from Canada. She watched the video where I was talking about stitching and reading Anne of Green Gables. And she actually grew up on Prince Edward Island, and she doesn't live there any longer, but she had these pieces that she wanted to share with me. And thank you so much, Judy. I appreciate it so much. And if you know the story of Anne and her best friend in the book, Diana, it's kindred spirits. Anne always said that they were kindred spirits when they first met. So there's that. So she passed along these Anne-themed charts for me. And this is, you know what, Charlene Designs. And this is from 1989. And this says, God's in his heaven, all's right with the world. Anne of Green Gables, L.M. Montgomery. So there's that sweet sampler. And then there's one other that she sent. And this is, I'm not going to attempt to read that, but it's a Prince Edward Island themed. It's by Cherry Tree Designs from 1992. And I think it's Land Cradled on the Waves. So this is like a band sampler. It has the ABCs, but there's bands of different fish and waves there and shells. Thank you so much. I really look forward especially to stitching this one. So she sent along a sweet note with that. And as well, I got a card in the mail from Samantha. So thank you so much, Samantha. That card brightened my day. So I appreciate you sending this along. Oh, I meant to show the card. Just thinking of you, just touching base. And then I did get some fabric in, and I can't share with you the design, but I'm going to try my hand at doing some embroidery. I have been watching some embroidery videos, so I bought what is called embroidery fabric, and it is very similar to our stitching fabric, of course, just a little tighter weave. And these are the two colors that I purchased. This one's a gray, and this one is like a very muted lavender color. And so I just need to get a couple of other supplies, and I'm going to give this a try. I'm looking forward to it, actually. I've been cross-stitching since I was maybe 12, 13 years old. And I've always been a little bit intimidated by embroidery. But when you're watching, when I am watching tutorials, I can do that. I say that all the time. I can do that. As you're watching someone make those stitches using their needle and the way they're working them through and making French knots, I can do that. I know I'm a left-handed stitcher, and I hear a lot of left-handed stitchers say, the tutorials don't work for them because there's a right-hand person doing them. But I look at it a little differently, and I think that's why I don't struggle with it, is because when I'm watching the tutorial, yes, the person's doing it with their right hand, but they're facing me. So when I think about it, I think that they're stitching it just as I would be. So it's, once again, they're using their right hand, but when it's coming through a video, it's their left. So I'm looking forward to giving that a try. I'm looking forward to sharing my efforts with all of you, but just in trying something new and something that'll use up some of this DMC I have so much of here in the room. So I can't, like I said, I have downloadable patterns, and I have them loaded up into my iPad. But I hope within the next month, I'm not going to say in July, I'm going to say in August, I'll have something, because like I said, I have a stitch along coming up, and then I have these new pieces I've started, so I do want to work on a couple of those and get one or two of them knocked out before I start this embroidery journey. So I'm looking forward to it. Coming up, all kinds of things. I did share earlier, I haven't bought any cross stitch, but I did buy a new canner. I had a modified canner. I had a pot that I was using to can jams and jellies and just fruit and things over the past couple of years, but it wasn't an official canner. I was using it as a canner. So I've went out and ordered, because I can't find one anywhere near me, which I found odd. And now when I go into the stores, even to look at the canning jars, they're gone because it's becoming a trend. So I went on Amazon and I ordered a canner with the rack, and I didn't have to buy any of the other supplies, the other accoutrements for canning, because I do have them. And I'm looking forward to trying some new things and canning things from my garden. It's raining here today, which is why I've gotten so much done on Stars and Stripes Forever. It rained a good bit of the day yesterday after we got up early to do the yard work, because I did not, on one side of the house is still shaded in the early morning hours because the sun comes up behind the house and sets in the front of the house. And so I made sure we did yard work in the front of the houses. We would not be in the sun. And with that being said, in the afternoon it began to rain, and it rained all night, downpours on and off, and lots of high wind. And today it is still raining on and off, which my plants are loving it. You know, I am in love with my plants. I have already been outside checking on them, talking to them. There has been growth since yesterday. So I have somewhere around 15 green tomatoes right now that I can count, and that was yesterday before the rain. I have probably 3 more cucumbers than that, but 3 that are grown significantly, and one of them just, if I don't have that thing by next weekend, I'll be surprised. I'm sure it will be ready by Wednesday, Thursday, and I'm so excited. So those will be my first harvest from the fruit of my garden. I have used several of the herbs. I've used chives. I've used the cilantro. I use the mint almost daily. I shared a picture of my mint this week. I think that was a new to me this year herb, and I'm going to bring that back each year. But I'm just enjoying it. I'm still enjoying it. I had to put up more trellis for my cucumbers last weekend, or my son-in-law did for me. and they're climbing over that. I was looking out there before I come up to do the video, and the cucumbers have trailed above the trellis that he made last week, which is 5 feet. They're rising and reaching with their vines even further. So it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling. So that's where I am with the garden. So I'm planning getting ready to start canning. I'm having the friends over next weekend, and then hopefully the weekend of 4th of July, we're gonna can a few vegetables. Both of my daughters have little gardens, and I want to introduce them to canning, so it's something that we can do together, and then I'll have the canner if they want to borrow it. But it makes me excited. It gives us something to do, and I have many happy memories as a child of sitting at the kitchen table where my aunts and my grandmothers were canning fruits or shelling peas or blanching peas to freeze, and I want my girls to have those memories as well, and learn things that they can carry forward into their lives and maybe pass on to their children someday or their grandchildren. But just happy memories. It seems like in my house and my grandparents' house, the kitchen was the heart of the house, because that's where we congregated most of the time. Talked enough about the garden, and I think that's it, though. I'm going to continue to work on Stars and Stripes this week. That's going to be my focus. Like I said, I'd hope to finish it before 4th of July, so I can make that a quick stitch on Uncle Sam and get him finished. And I'll continue to work on my Ann Womack and put my one thread before bed in every evening. And I hope everyone's doing well, and you're tending your gardens and planning for your family gatherings for Independence Day if you're here in the U.S., and for your summer vacations if you're here in the U.S., and just making plans for family, period, because that's what's important. Have a great week. Hugs and stitches. Thanks for visiting with me. Bye-bye.